Hey guys, Bound here. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be checking out the Season 30 end of season articles, the top articles for the season. Just a couple updates. I did move to a new location, so it did take me a while to get everything set up, so that's why I had a huge gap right there, but I am back. And I just wanted to also give another couple updates on the future. So obviously Pokemon Champions will be coming out. This year at least. We don't know the release date yet, but I do plan on playing this game when it comes out, so be looking forward to content in the future for that. Also, Pokemon Legends EA coming out on October 16th, and I am going to be playing that as well, so look forward to that. And as far as Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I do not think I will play Regulation I, at least for the remainder of it, just because it's a little hard for me to find motivation to play again. I've tried the ideas that I want to try, I've already tried, so I don't really think I can take that regulation anymore, but that's just my opinion. However, there are other games that I do want to try, like the Minecraft update. There is a new Minecraft update coming out on later this month. I think it was supposed to come out on like the 3rd of June, but I think there is a delay or something. But I do want to try out that update. I do actually want to stream Minecraft coming up. Maybe I could play like Roblox too. I did grow up playing a lot of Roblox, and I still sometimes come back to visit that. So there's a lot of opportunities for me to come back, and that's what I want to pursue right now. So, but with that being said, I still want to do analysis for Pokemon because I still have a lot of knowledge to share, and I do want to also revisit some other articles from the past and also kind of give you guys some insight on those as well. But now let's take a look at the articles right here. So first one, so for the first place we have, oh yeah, and also yeah, obviously these are Japanese, so I will have to use Google Translate for these. As you can see, I have the Google Translator right here, but sometimes it's not accurate, so I'll have to break down the vocabulary for y'all, just so you know. So this player was really wanting to achieve first place. They finally did it, which is amazing for them. So we have the Miraidon plus Calyrex Ice Legendary Duo is something that's been getting top results a lot recently. So this is the first season of Regulation I out of 4 seasons. As you can see, the first, second, 5th place teams all have that duo. Not used in the same exact way, but that duo proves really to be really strong because they just cover each other. They just cover each other in terms of offense really well. Some defensive capabilities as well, especially with Terra on the table. Just having that defensive capability is really good. And then it has a lot of compatibility with other team slots as well, like Urshifu, Sneasler, and all that stuff. So, and also the electric terrain enables stuff like Iron Shreds, and things like that. So, yeah, really solid team builds, and we're gonna go over that as well as go over some other ones here. So. We have the Specs Miraidon, and then we have the Dice Calyrex. Now, in a stream I did previously, I did use like a screen from Miraidon Plus and a Cosmic Decimate with Triggerman Swords Dance. It was a similar kind of thing, but the Calyrex Shadow just has better compatibility overall because you're able to threaten those ground types a lot better, and also like have that multi-hit as well. So there's a lot of multi-skill right now, Lugia, Lunala, Dragonite, etc. It's really useful to have a Icicle Spear that can be boosted with Sword Dance as well to break through those in one hit, increasing that sweeping potential. And then if anything just goes to a Water Terror, then you have Miraidon there to really punish that. And since a lot of the time Calyrex will force those ground types to Terra, Miraidon just can't spam that Specs Electro Drift as long as it wants to. So that's kind of the concept that this player I think is going for here, and a lot of players are going for with this duo here. So as it says at the beginning of the season, this player was using the duo of Koraidon plus Ho-Oh. This duo was very common at the beginning of the season, I did notice, but there was a problem with Gliscor and Garganacl. Obviously, Garganacl can just Terra to fire or water, for example, and just wall those two out very easily, and just Salt Cure spam. It can outlast those very easily. So that's why you want to find a reliable duo that can complement each other in offense. So one can deal with problems that the other one has very easily. So that's what you want. And with these two, it's kind of hard to do that. It's not impossible to do that. It's hard. It's just harder. So this is just a very easy way to achieve that. And so that's basically what they're saying right here. It is a very long article. When you're reading these articles, you don't have to, read everything. But if you want to understand like the team building process, then I do recommend that. And so they included the ground type, obviously, with the Iron Treads in this case, because if Miraidon goes Fairy Terra, then you want that Steel type to absorb that poison and steel that hits Fairy really hard. So Treads just has compatibility. Also, yeah, the Electric Terrain allows it to get that stat boost, which is really good. So that's really good. Urshifu, obviously the ability to break through those opponents' Calyrex ice as well, which can be very annoying, like the ice Calyrex Ditto, especially when you're an offensive ice Calyrex that deals with the Leech Seed defensive one, which has really been popping up a lot in Regulation I especially. You want like a secondary option to break through that for sure, so that's what they were going for right there. And yeah, some of these are not translated properly, but I think you can make out a pretty good amount. If you guys have any questions about any of these, you can tell me in the leave a comment below and I can answer for sure. But Specs Miraidon with the Fairy Terra, Dazzling Gleam, and then these just the stab options, Volt Switch and everything. And then they get into the EV spread, so certain amount of HP and defense, which means it withstands that close combat from the Sash Urshifu. I think that means banded actually. Withstands a banded close combat. I think it's just a mistranslation there. And then the HP special defense withstanding that Astral Barrage from that Specs Calyrex Shadow. And then the speed outspeeding the fastest 100 speed Pokemon. So that's really important to have right there. And then obviously the Calyrex Shadow, pretty standard spread, like HP and attack mostly. Get that special defense in there to deal with the Electro Drifts and the Specs Astral Barrage. They're just really strong moves that you want to be able to take. Banded Urshifu, Electric Seed Sneasel with Swords Dance. This is Direct Claw, Close Combat, Throat Chop, and Swords Dance. So the Terra type is Dark to boost the Throat Chop better and also just give you a defensive option there. It also prevents Prankster options as well. So there are obviously a lot of Grimmsnarl and Prankster stuff. So if you Terra Dark, then you could just prevent those Thunder Waves, those Parting Shots, and you can just kind of immediately end the game if you really wanted to there, because the opponent won't really expect you to do that. So, and then obviously the Assault Vest Iron Treads. When you have a Fairy Terra Miraidon, and then you have this right there, that it really good against the opponent's Miraidon, which Miraidon has been increasing in popularity because, as you can see in the Pokemon rankings, this is Miraidon's place last season, and now this season it's jumped all the way up to number 2. So Miraidon, it's important. It's increasingly important to have these countermeasures for Miraidon right now. And then Ditto, obviously, for the opposing Calyrex Shadows and Zacian. It's just like an emergency, just like a last resort option, especially with the Focus Sash. Sometimes you can get speed ties with the opponent's Scarf, Calyrex Shadow, so that can really suck. So running a Scarf can be kind of risky sometimes, but if you have a Sash, then you're guaranteed to do something unless the Stealth Rock is up. So I do think that is a good choice right there. And then here, what a lot of players will usually do is put their selections, so what they pick in certain situations. So obviously, this just means Miraidon versus the Miraidon Calyrex Ice standard build. So as you can see, there's a lot of people using that. So if I go here, like against a standard build like this or like this, where it has like some that duo and then similar slots, like this is a similar team again. For example, it just has a few different Terra types and items, but this duo is actually very popular. So it's important to have like a game plan versus it, and this is their game plan. Start with Miraidon and then have these two in the back. versus Koraidon plus Counteract Shadow. This is what they have. Versus Counteract Shadow and Zacian versus Koraidon and what is this? Kyogre. Wait, let me go back to Japanese here. Yeah, this is versus Koraidon and Kyogre. Sometimes it can be kind of off. This is a Koraidon Zacian. Koraidon plus Lunala. And so, yeah, they have all these game plans that they show you. So this is really important to take in because it really helps you fight against the opponent's people that are using these builds as well, because they read these articles as well. So that's just how it goes. And then this is just like a conclusion. Just they're obviously very happy to take the first place position, something that they got for the first time, which is really cool. And then also they include what's called heavy Pokemon, which means the Pokemon that can give them problems, the problematic matchups for the team. So you have the Scarf Kyogre, which is, yeah, makes sense because the Miraidon is Specs, so sometimes you don't have that immediate speed there. No booster energies on the team that give speed. So sometimes Scarf Kyogre can just completely get through the team if you don't have that utility there, that speed in the right situation. So it also sometimes Kyogre can, when you expect it to be a Scarf and it, well, I guess Miraidon's ability, order of activation, so if the Kyogre's ability goes before yours, you kind of know immediately, but sometimes it comes out later in the match, or you just don't know, then it could actually be like another item, and then you just won't kind of know. So this is understandable, because Kyogre counterplay can vary depending on what the set is. And then obviously Fairy Terra, a lot of things are Fairy Terra, because especially in the Miraidon mirror, sometimes it can be kind of annoying. If they do have, obviously you can just switch into this if you're unsure of what the Miraidon's running, but sometimes players just go like Water Terra, for example, predicting the treads. So there's a lot of prediction players out there on the ladder that could just cause problems, and so that's where I think that's what this guy might be talking about, but I'm not exactly sure. But usually they have to make a certain play based on just previous experience on what they play against and stuff like that. So, but that's pretty much it. Like, there's not really too many bad matchups. This deck or this team is really good. Nowadays it's probably figured out because obviously everyone saw the first place team now, so it might not work as well as it used to, but it's still a really good team. So with that, we're gonna go to the second place team. Miraidon plus Counteract Shadow. This is a cycle build. A cycle build means a build that switches around until it gets the advantage, or a build that basically aims to wear down the opponent over time. So this build kind of achieves both of those because you have the Elite Sheet Counteract Shadow and the Assault Vest Miraidon, so these can form a very good defensive core. Switching around each other, Miraidon can deal with a lot of special attackers, especially with that Assault Vest. Calyrex can deal with a lot of physical attackers. Given that it does tear to the water type, though, it does need to tear to the water type because Koraidon and Zacian just have natural options that can just hit this thing very hard, so that's the only downside. But the Mimikyu serves as a reset situation, so that's what you're going to see here, and let me translate this. So obviously, if you don't have an opportunity to get this in freely, then Mimikyu is that option there. So that's, I mean, I already read this article, but their Miraidon, Calyrex Ice, and the Mimikyu is their main core. That's what they select a lot of the time. And when you have a team, you really want to have like your main core and then like your backup options for like really specific and annoying matchups. For example, like Lunala, for example. So I'm not going to get into this article too much. It's kind of a similar thing to the last one, obviously with the same legendary duo. Now, obviously, the translations can be kind of off, but it's still important to understand like why they picked certain things. So I guess in the construction process part, which a lot of articles have, it can be really good. And also, yeah, it is kind of important to learn like some Japanese because sometimes, like for example, this means like a vest Miraidon, and then you have Koraidon. Like the certain hiragana or the katakana letters can be really important to know, just in case you can't read something in English, you can kind of put it back into Japanese and kind of see the lettering. Because sometimes this means like choki, which means vest, and then you see like Chocodile, which is wrong. It's supposed to be Choki, but it's actually it didn't even translate to vest. Like it should say vest, but it doesn't say that. So that's kind of the issue with this. But the really good thing about Vest Miraidon is its consistency against the Calyrex Shadow, because sometimes Calyrex Shadow can have Encore, so defensive counterplay can get kind of messed up, especially with that Encore plus Nasty Plot set. That could just immediately turn around the game and end it for you, unfortunately. So having like an offensive option with Bulk is really good, because you can't just get Encore, you can't just get taunted, or I mean I guess they don't really run taunt anymore. But you can't get stopped like defensively, because like Calyrex's best like option against Miraidon is Astral Barrage. You can't Draining Kiss won't keep up with like an AV Terra Electric Miraidon, and then random Terra Blast like fighting and like I guess ground could be annoying, but that's not too common. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. That might increase in the next season though, because of all the Assault Vest Miraidons. You might see a little bit more Ground Terror Calyrex Shadows, so that's gonna be kind of annoying. But I guess you can just cover that by running like a Chien Pao on your team. So that's something that we might see later on. But yeah. And then obviously the 5th place team used a very similar core with the Miraidon, Calyrex Ice, or Shifu, Sneasler. Very similar to the 1st place team, but they just had different sets entirely. So the AV Miraidon, once again, but no U-turn on there, Volt Switch. So sometimes the reason why the other one runs U-turn is because of all the ground types and stuff, like Landorus, Ting-Lu, Ursaluna Blood Moon. So sometimes it can be kind of hard to use Volt Switch, but they do have options to switch into those ground types and threaten them really hard, so it makes sense why they have Volt Switch there. And then this Calyrex Shadow actually has Encore and Trick Room instead of Leech Seed, Sub Protect, and the attack. Instead of Sub Protect, they have Encore and Trick Room, which Trick Room can enable just slow, like if you're facing Zacians and like Koraidons and Calyrex Shadows, you can just get that speed advantage temporarily, and that can really change the game into your favor. Even Assault Vest Miraidon can benefit from Trick Room against those Pokemon, even though Miraidon's really fast, just because the people are really trying to be as fast as possible, and so just having like any option that's slower, like apart from Sneasler, can be really good with Trick Room, obviously. Because in the past seasons, Trick Room was only reserved for like Ursaluna Blood Moon, regular Ursaluna, like the original species one, or like something else like really slow. But now in Regulation I, Trick Room can actually be used with a variety of slower Pokemon, like even Dragonite. Dragonite is actually really underrated in Trick Room because like you can still move first if you really want to with the extreme speed, but you also like get a faster roost. You can kind of stall the opponent better with Leech Seed, for example. Like if your roosting gets like a faster legendary, you can kind of gain the advantage, and then once they're low enough, you just extreme speed or something like that. So it's actually really good, but not really too much to say about this article. Just a really solid team. These are just really consistent and solid Pokemon paired with really good legendary Pokemon. Like Dragonite has always been good. Landorus has always been good. Sneasler works really well with Miraidon's electric terrain, obviously with that electric seed. Urshifu with the focus hash, Swords Dance, Stellar Terra, because that allows you to get that. It just boosts the power on Surging Strikes, especially with the Sash. You can get the KO on the Calyrex Shadows that are Sash, and then also the Zacians if you Terra with that Surging Strikes, and then get the Aqua Jet off, which is really good. So just situations like that can be really good for boosting that power. But yeah, other than that, just a really solid team. Also the Sneasler. The Flying Terror is mainly for the ground types like Landorus and Gliscor, because if you use Taunt plus Flying Terror, you can completely shut them down. and then Swords Dance up and Acrobatics away. And you're basically using them as setup fodder, unless the Landorus has Rock Tomb, which has been decreasing in usage for Landorus. So if you're able to get this off, then your opponent's kind of screwed, unless they have like a Sash in the back or something. But yeah, and then let's get into an article that actually doesn't have this legendary duo. So this team has the duo of Koraidon plus Calyrex Shadow, and the Koraidon has a Choice Scarf, Flare Blitz, Close Combat, Outrage, and U-Turn, and the Calyrex has a Focus Sash with Ghost Terra, Astral Barrage, Psyshock, Grass Knot, and Encore. And obviously, Calyrex Shadow with the Sash is the safest, I think, is the safest option in the regulation right now. So if you're struggling what to run, I would definitely recommend starting your team off with a Sash Calyrex Shadow. It's just a really safe option that can open up a lot of opportunities for other Pokemon to shine. It's just really good. So, and so the POW. So I could just go over each Pokemon because I have so much experience. I can just kind of talk about what each Pokemon can do here, because I don't want to get into all the reading sometimes, especially for y'all. Like, I don't think you want to really see all that. But obviously, I'll put all the articles, this website in the description if you really want to look at it. But basically, the POW has a Never Melt Ice as an item, and if you don't know, that item basically increases the power of Ice type moves by 1.2 times, I believe. So it's really good combined with Swords Dance. You can really use the Ice Shard to pick off like legendaries like Miraidon and Koraidon that don't have the option to Terra, and obviously boosting the Icicle Crash to increase the breaking power against things like Eternatus, Ho-Oh, other Pokemon like that. Especially with that Fire Terra, you can pretty much pop the Terra, Swords Dance against a Ho-Oh, because a lot of Ho-Ohs go for Sacred Fire against POW as always. And so if you get the Swords Dance, that Icicle Crash is probably killing me, especially with that Never Melt Ice there. So that's probably the mindset there. And obviously the POW has some HP, and I don't know, I think that means 252 attack, 4 defense, 36 special defense, and it actually has no speed. Oh no, 60 speed. I think it just kind of doesn't show that there yet. But yeah, it's a bulky POW with Swords Dance, which is actually really good in this regulation, just because as long as you're bulky enough to get that Swords Dance off, you don't really sometimes you don't really have to care about being faster than the opponent, just because you have those priority options. So this POW is all about guaranteeing action, and sometimes you don't need to be fast to actually the fastest POW to actually do that. So that's the mindset there. Calyrex Shadow, really good. Obviously, Grass Knot's there to threaten those Ursaluna Blood Moons, Tinglus, and just other Pokemon like Swampert, even Swampert, for example. I've been seeing a lot, like especially AV Swampert. So just being able to threaten those really just immediate threat is really good. Psyshock is a really good stab option, especially for those poison types, or poison terras, especially, and also Eternatus as well. Clodsire is a really big one. Just gets destroyed by Psyshock, especially since a lot of them run full special defense nowadays. Excuse me. Okay, and then obviously that Encore. A lot of Sash Calyrexes nowadays are running Encore just because it just completely stops defensive play, and then enables you to get POW in or another sweeper, and just completely set up and sweep the match. So the Encore has just been increasing on pop. It's just been everywhere on the Sash Calyrexes. The Garganical, you have the obviously the Purifying Salt ability right here, Protect, Sub, Salt Cure, Recover. The Grass Terra, obviously that's been a popular option since Regulation G, just because the Grass Terra plus Purifying Salt kind of messes up Calyrex Shadow. You can't use Leech Seed on it, and then Astral Barrage is halved and on all that, so you can't use Giga Drain or Grass moves on it either. So this Pokemon can just serve as a wall for the opponent's Calyrex Shadow, and also Miraidon and Kyogre as well, just because you're having their main stab options, you know, the Electro Drifts, the Water Spouts, the Surfs, the Origin Pulses, and all that. It's just a really good wall, and Salt Cure just allows you to just play very effectively as a wall. So that's really good. The Gliscor, obviously, a lot of people use Gliscor in Regulation I mainly to just stall out the gimmicks. So things like screens plus a sweeper, like screens plus anything. Like if you have screens, you have to be very careful of letting that Pokemon die because Gliscor can just come out and stall. Because a lot of screen space setup teams do not have a way to beat Gliscor just because the sweepers don't have taunt or encore, or they just don't have the typing to break through that Gliscor before it just gets a sub off and then halts the game right there. So that's pretty much what Gliscor does, because sometimes these offensive Pokemon can fall victim to screens, and so that's where the Gliscor comes in. That's why Gliscor has been increasing in usage, because another thing that you can see on this website is the usage over time. So Gliscor obviously started off at number 21, but over the season actually increased to number 13. So, and I think now in season 31 it actually has gone up even more, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's at number 11. So Gliscor, the value of Gliscor has really gone up just because of the ability to end a game without really having to do anything. It's just really powerful to be able to do that, because as you all know, the poison heal loop with Summon Protect is infinite. So as soon as you have a Pokemon advantage or a HP advantage, you can stall out the game with Gliscor, and the opponent can't really do much about it except for use a sound penetrating move that can penetrate the substitute, or a multi-hit move, which a lot of those can be mitigated by the Steel Terror. So Gliscor is just a very annoying Pokemon to deal with, and that's why it's just increasing in usage, because that's what kind of Regulation I is. A lot of the annoying Pokemon have increased in usage, and so that's just how it is. And obviously the Citrus Berry Tinglu has been really common. It's just really reliable. Takes a lot of hits, obviously, from the common legendary Pokemon like Miraidon and Calyrex Shadow, which I believe now are the most common. Yeah, so Tinglu's value is just going to keep going up. Obviously, that's why it's number 1 in usage, and has been number 1. It's still number 1 after over a month, which is kind of funny, because yeah, I think early on in season 30, that's when it hit number 1. Let me see. Yeah, it started off at number 4, and then as soon as Calyrex Shadow and Miraidon kept seeing play, Tinglu just skyrocketed right there. So that makes a lot of sense. Obviously, this is the Earthquake, Stealth Rock, Spikes, and Whirlwind set, which hazards are really good because it kind of allows you to break through a lot of things no matter what, because sometimes there's just a lot of bulk out there, like for example Eternatus, Ho-Oh, and just a lot of walls out there like Garg, Dondozo, all that stuff. So these hazards can even help things like Koraidon break through Dondozo, like even through it just after a couple cycles. Like obviously you can just get some U-turns off, weaken the Dondozo a little bit, switch around until you get enough hazards up, and then you can just sweep through the Dondozo eventually. And so the hazards allow you to play very flexibly, and Tinglu, being so bulky as it is, it's bulky enough to get multiple rounds of hazards off reliably. So yeah, that's pretty much what the team is like. Obviously a lot of selections in Regulation I are you usually select 2 legendaries plus a support mon. So but usually it's really just based on what the opponent has, and that's why you want to have a flexible build as possible, as much of a flexible build as possible. So I'm just going to go over a number 8, 9, and 10, and then I'm going to call it there, because obviously there's so many articles that you could check out. Also, something that I would recommend is if you really want to see a team based around a certain Pokemon, you click on that Pokemon, for example, Necrozma Duskmane, scroll down, and then you can see teams that have that Pokemon in it, and it does all the work for you. So you can just check those out and just see how people use the Pokemon, which is really cool. So this team is a very similar build to the last one, except the Lunala instead of the Calyrex Shadow, and it just has other walls there. The use of Toxic Spikes, obviously, if you didn't play Regulation G, Toxic Spikes is a really big proponent of how things. It's just a lot of teams rely on it. Really, and it makes sense because a lot of the legendary Pokemon are not immune to Toxic Spikes, including the top ones, and that's really what matters right now. So Gilmore has just skyrocketed in usage in this regulation, especially. Number 17, but I think in this current season it actually went up. Nope, it's actually the same number. Okay, but it's still a really good Pokemon. And the red card allows you to base the main use behind the red card is to switch into a physical attacker like Shanpao or Koraidon, get the toxic spikes off, force that Pokemon out, so when it comes back in, it gets poisoned, and its momentum is lost. So that's what Glamora really much does, and that it enables defensive teams even better. Like with Dondozo, Dondozo can just sit there against a defensive Pokemon, let the poison just let it die, and then just do whatever it wants. That's why it doesn't have to run like any actual attacks. This one just has Fissure, Rest, Yawn, and Protect, which is kind of crazy, but it actually just works because of how this team is built. And then the Gliscor has Protect Sub, a Knockoff, and Toxic. A different type of Gliscor, but it's still really good. It looks like it's specially defensive right there. And then Lunala, what is this? The Ghost move, Moongeist Beam, Moonblast, Calm Mind, and Moonlight. The Rillaboom has a Choice Band with Woodhammer, Grassy Glide, High Horsepower, and U-Turn. The Koraidon has an Assault Vest with Flame Charge, Flare Blitz, Drain Punch, and U-Turn. And so this is just a very defensive team that allows you to switch around based on what the Pokemon's in front of you. Very safe team. And yeah, you just play, as long as you just play well, then this team is going to do really well. It makes a lot of sense why this team finished in 8th place. So, and also the Lunala has a Rocky Helmet. Really good against, just really good at punishing like Flare Blitzes. Like when Koraidon hits into a Rocky Helmet with Flare Blitz, that thing is going to take a lot of recoil. So Rocky Helmet, I think, is better in Regulation I for sure, just because there's a lot more Koraidon. I do think I mean, obviously it did drop a little bit, but it's still used a lot, so definitely still watch out for that Pokemon, because it's just really strong. It can blow up anything at once, really, except for Dondozo. Like, Dondozo is like the only thing that can actually wall Koraidon, pretty much, because, like, you eat Dondozo, that's what, I mean, I feel like that's what Dondozo was designed for, which is funny, because Dondozo was allowed for every regulation so far, but now we're really seeing its true purpose right here, which is kind of funny. I think its true purpose all along was to wall Koraidon. That's hilarious, but yeah. That's pretty much it. I'm not going to go into detail right there. Pretty standard stuff, like you've probably seen all these builds use yourself, like playing against them and all that. So yeah, I'm going to go back to the articles here. Number 9. This is actually a pretty cool team. I did see this earlier on. And yeah, excuse me for my voice. I'm still trying to recover my voice back because I was sick previously, and so yeah, still trying to recover from that. So please keep that in mind. But yeah, this is pretty interesting. We have a Specs Terrapagos, Scarf Groudon, Rocky Helmet Mimikyu, Chanpao with Sash, Water Ogapon, and the red card Glamora, as I've mentioned before. So another build that aims to switch around to get that advantage, or just hit really hard to what's in front of you. Like, for example, the Specs Terrapagos really doesn't need much support. You can just hit a move based on what's in front of you. That's pretty much it. And Terrapagos has so many options, like, as coverage. Like, this one's running Ice Beam, Earth Power, and Flamethrower, but it also has, like, Thunderbolt. You can run Dark Pulse. You can run Dazzling Gleam. Pretty much anything you can think of, this thing gets. It's kind of like a Mew in some sense. Like, it gets a lot of options. But yeah, Terrapagos has a lot of freedom, and this guy just chose to run Specs. And then he has Groudon, Earthquake, Rock Slide, Heat Crash, and Will-O-Wisp is Choice Scope Groudon, which actually can catch a lot of players off guard. Like, for example, Zacian gets one hit by the Earthquake because Groudon has a lot of attack, and then the Baridon, you know, this thing can outspeed Cataracte Shadow with the Scarf as well. So, and also it has that natural bulk to take anything at once. It takes one or two hits very well. So very underrated option, and then that Will-O-Wisp can just catch the opponent off guard as well. So, and then the Will-O-Wisp can also support things like that Ogapon, which probably is especially defensive. Take a look here. No, wait, it's funny. Well, it's actually HP and speed, but you get the point. Will-O-Wisp supports just the team in general, just because it can just make those physical attackers easier to deal with in general. So yeah, that's really good. And then obviously not really too much to say. Just they use the team really well. Um, I think. Wait, what is this? Well, I guess this is the team that they started off with, and then they switched to this one because this is their final team. But yeah, pretty cool team. I wish I could see how they played it. But because sometimes players upload videos with their teams as well, and sometimes they'll put videos at the bottom of their articles. But obviously not every player films their battles and all that. But it'll be really cool to see this team in action because it's a really cool team. But the rental code is there. Well, a lot of players obviously do share their rental codes, so obviously use that if you like, which is really cool. Okay, so this is the last team I'm going to go over today. The 10th place team from season 30. So, Koraidon, Choice Scarf, Outrage, Flare Blitz, Fairy Terra Blast, and U-turns. This is pretty interesting. My take is that the Fairy Terra Blast is for the Koraidon Mirror or for Miraidon and all that. Let me take a look here. So Fairy Terra Kyogre, that's what they started the team off with. So let's see. Yeah, so this guy just really thinks or really likes using the fairies. And then it says Fairy Terra Blast is strong when you don't want to be too picky about dragons. Yep. It can be resistant to the Urshifu problem as well. So that's what the main thing is, because Urshifu can sometimes come out and, like, a lot of Urshifus right now are defensive, so having that Fairy Terra Blast can be really good, because sometimes the water Urshifu, like, Flare Blitz is clicked a lot, so having that Fairy Terra Blast is like a nice mid-ground option against the water Urshifu. That can punish the Fire Terra Flare Blitz. Even with the Sun Up, that Surging Strike still hurts, so makes a lot of sense. And then the Fairy Terra Assault Vest Kyogre with that Terra Blast as well. I'm really sorry about the voice cracks. I cannot control it right now, but yeah, that's just how it goes. The Chien-Pao Ice Terra with Icicle Crash, Sacred Sword, Sheer Cold, and Ice Shard. Obviously, the Sheer Cold, really wanting that roll compression there, because sometimes there's things that you cannot break through, like Dondozo, Ho-Oh, and all that. So that's what Sheer Cold is there for. Because obviously, against Dondozo, you can get... You have multiple attempts for Sheer Cold, especially with Toxapex as well, because sometimes Toxapex can be very annoying, but this guy does have some options to break through Toxapex, like Thunder, and then you have the Specs Archludon, and with the Electro Shot as well, so really utilizing that rain to just throw, just lay out as much damage as possible right there. And then obviously the defensive cushions to just stall out the game if anything gets problematic, because sometimes you kind of need like a backup, having those cushions, those safety cushions, those safety nets is just really solid. Like all these teams pretty much have it. Like this team has, well, I guess this team kind of doesn't, because it's like a more offensive one, but this team has that Gliscor, this team has that Landorus and Dragonite, this team has that Garg, this team just is full of them. This team has Ogerpon and the Glamora, and this one has these two right here. So yeah, and then interestingly enough, the Clodsire has Earthquake, Stockpile, Recover, and Protect. So this is just a Clodsire that aims to just slow the game down entirely. And then the Gliscor has Knock Off, Taunt, Sub, and Protect. So yeah, just a pretty solid team, utilizing that rain to suppress those fire type options from the Koraidon, for example. Opposing Koraidons at least, because this one doesn't rely too much on the Fire Terra. Obviously has that Fairy Terra, so it can use its other moves flexibly without worrying about the raid suppressing its Flare Blitz. It only clicks Flare Blitz when it really needs to, which is important. And obviously this looks like, yeah, it's just a very solid team. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the articles right here. I just wanted to check them out and kind of provide my insights on that. So I definitely recommend checking these out, because obviously there's so many different things that you can kind of reference off of if you want to build something off of it. I definitely recycled concepts from some of the articles when I use my own teams. And so yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, be looking forward to different types of content in the future because I do want to branch out now that I've kind of lost a little bit of motivation for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. But I still want to do obviously do these analysis videos and all that. So yeah, hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.